everyone, Jess here, and today I'm joined with Steven Dickson, Managing Partner at Skylight Aviation. Thank you for joining me today, Steven.
Pleasure, Jess. Good to be here.
So at the event, your sessions span airport and airline tech, but I thought today we could keep the conversation on the airport side. And some of the key themes you're going to be exploring is emerging tech, streamlining operations, leveraging tech to create these sort of future-proof ecosystems. And you're going to be having these conversations with some really exciting industry players. But we'll turn to the specifics of your sessions in just a second. But firstly, what are some of the emerging trends in the wider airport landscape that you're going to be looking out for across the event?
Well, firstly, thanks for having me, Jess. I think we've got a really exciting conference coming up. I'm pleased to be part of the airport tech session and running these sessions. But I mean, specifically, what I always take a step back. If you look at where we've come from as an industry to where we now are, I think things have moved on, remarkably well. A lot of progression, a lot more use of insights in terms of data, better use of data, better use of analysis, better use of understanding from where the problems are, using that data to actually fix things. For example, reduction of delays, passenger-induced delays or airport-induced delays rather, that clearly cause an impact to the customer experience. A lot of focus has been on things like sustainable aviation fuel and others, and that's much more at the airline level. But at the airport level specifically, I think there's still, we're still talking about airports transitioning to self-service, for example. Can you believe that in 2024, there are lots of big airports out there, big terminals, that still don't have self-baggage drops, for example? I mean, just one of the areas of contention. You also look at the issues around, we've got some enhancements around particular screening technology to help not only, improve the customer experience, but obviously to increase the throughput, reduce some of the delays, and therefore improve the overall processor capacity. But a lot of airports are still way behind that sort of drag curve. So actually just bringing up to that basic standard of actually what customers now expect to get a consistent experience will be really helpful. So that's what I call, those are still the hygiene factors that are still out there, better resource planning, better system planning, better use of technology that already exists in the market. The key things I want to be looking for is what's next. So what's not yet being deployed. And, we do a lot of talk as an industry. There's a lot of conversations. There's a lot of presentations, many of which you will see at the event. But what I'd like to see about actually what are some of the tangible improvements, something tangible that's actually already in kind of the concept phase or coming through into development, where airports and technology partners are working hand in glove to shape the future. Some of the examples I've seen out there around, benefiting from the likes of digital twins, implementation of digital twins, better use of, essentially creating a digital airport, a replica of the digital airport. So you can use things like AI. I mean, how many people are going to talk about AI at the event? I suspect quite a lot, given that it's all consuming all around our lives now. But better use of that data in the digital environment to be able to predict. Somebody will tell you in aviation that no 2 days are the same. I don't believe that. That's a fundamental lie. There are lots of events, lots of days that overall a 24-hour period may not be the same. But there are so many events within that 24-hour period that we can learn from, and yet we still don't. Whether it be weather-related events, whether it be resource-related events, or it be industrial action, what was it that happened previously that we can do better? So on some of my panels, as you'll see, we've got some big names and big airports. A few of the biggest airports in Asia Pacific are joining us, which we're obviously very privileged to have at the event. So I'll be teasing out from them not only what looks and feels maybe sexy and innovative at a customer level, but what actually are they doing to fix some of the basics.
Fantastic. That's lots of really exciting content to look at. And your sessions are looking at tech as this catalyst, if you like, for a variety of different outcomes. What are some of the key themes that we can expect to see at your sessions?
Well, I think some of the panelists will want to keep some of that up their sleeve for the sessions. But I think what we'll be trying to do is, excuse me, how do we marry some of the needs better with the technology that's available today? So as we trial and test AI and machine learning in different operating environments and in different use cases, what are some of the benefits that we would expect to see delivered into the airport environment, but where may some of the challenges exist? We like talking about all the good, sexy, great, exciting stuff, but we don't talk so much about actually where some of the pitfalls may be. What does that mean for our employee base? What does that mean for our customers? What must our customers learn to do different? So we talk about machine learning. What about customer learning? As we change processes, we see that competence of customers, the experience, drop off. We saw it after COVID, or as flying restarted, customers were not match fit. Some airline CEOs got in trouble for saying that, but he was 100% correct. Customers were not match fit. So as we change processes, we evolve again. I'd like to really see what that means from the customer and how we train not only machines but also train our customers. And I think the other thing is, how do we better sort of unpack this? There's a lot of talk historically about better integration or better engagement across all of the ecosystem. There's lots of data available, lots of data. Airlines have oodles of data. They don't want to give it to airports. Airports have got oodles of data. They don't want to give it to the retailers. The retailers have got lots of data. They don't want to give it to the payment providers, etc., etc., etc. So what I be trying to sort of tease out, and one of the pieces is actually understanding better integration of not only data but systems across that ecosystem. So that's a couple of things to come. But I'm sure my panelists will have much more to say on this subject than me.
Fantastic, and that's a really great point you made about the ecosystem and the integration, because touching on what you said earlier, it is it's about consistency for the passenger, and if they're experiencing one thing at one part of their journey, say with the airline, and then another with the airport, when we have the capability to sort of streamline the whole thing into a more frictionless experience, I think a big part of that, like you say, is sort of breaking down the silos and sort of this free flow of data, if you like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think nirvana or the nirvana that we might want to try to idealize exists in that sense, because I think data obviously comes with data is very powerful. Data is very enriching if it's used in the right way. And airlines often will see sharing some of that data with airports would be potentially detrimental to maintaining their secret sauce. But actually, what is secret about sharing things like passenger demographics or passenger characteristics so airports can better plan? Now, some airports do this better, hand in glove. I mean, we're sitting here in, or will be, not quite yet, but sitting in Singapore. I know obviously we've got Singapore Airlines, the Changi hub sitting there very, very close by. Well, I suspect that works very well at an integrated level. But there are other examples that I won't share. We might share on the day, but not now, where things don't work so well between the hub carrier and the airport. But isn't this all about trying to attract as many customers through that airport, either direct point-to-point travelers, starting at the journey at the hub and ending somewhere else, or indeed, Fifth Freedom travelers over the hub on a transfer, and making that as, dare I say, or use the word you use, seamless or frictionless as possible. I don't think we're going to get to the point where it's a full sort of open data source between airline and airport. But what we do need to do is get better at trusting one another. And I think that trust factor was at its best in some cases during COVID. Also, there will be examples of when it was at its worst. But I do think people worked much better in our ecosystem during that crisis, of which I promise never to talk again. But I do think the industry works very well together. Everybody pulled their socks up and engaged for it in a meaningful way. So I think if we just do a little bit more collaboration and cooperation rather than sort of opposing each other's objectives, I think we'd be in a much better place.
Absolutely, and that's a really great insight into some of what to expect from your sessions, perhaps. What about the rest of the event? Is there any content or sessions that you're particularly looking forward to?
That's a very good question, Jess. I think there's lots. I mean, as always, I would say, I think this is a very good event to be at. Not only just for the region, but much more for globally. I think there's a lot of attendees here, and we'll be presenting at the conference, but also the exhibitors as well. I think don't forget the exhibition space. It was, I think, one of my first Terrapin events many years ago, probably 12 years ago or so, in the aviation space, where I was first exposed to technology on a scale that, as an airline operations executive, hadn't necessarily been so before. So I still remember that, and the opportunity that it gave me to rethink and reimagine how we build systems and technology, not only just for the customer, but actually for the operations base, and trying to get some smart. So I'll be as much on the exhibition floor treading the boards as I will be watching some of the conference.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing your insights today, and I look forward to meeting you in person at the event.
Pleasure. Look forward to it. Thanks a lot, Jess.